not admitted without parents or guardian.
Good evening, fans of fantastic films, and thank you for joining us once again on our little weekly, well, semi-weekly anyway, get-together. The name of this program is the Drive-In Asylum Double Feature. I'm one of your hosts, Bill Van Ryn from fanzine Drive-In Asylum. Sam Panico will be joining us on the second segment. He's not on the first one. For the first one, you just got me and Bradley Steele Harding. And welcome, Bradley.
Thank you, Bill. It's always so much fun to get to do this. Love the intro. Excited about the movie, and I can't get on the chat, so I don't. That's a little frustrating. But hi guys, hi Mark, hi everybody.
Well, I meant to tell you about that, and on the right hand side of your screen,
hi Nora,
you should see.
I see it.
It says public and host chat. If you click the thing that says public, you should be able to see the public one. It might automatically be in host chat because I see that you entered something there.
I did. I tried. Yeah, it's not working, but it's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fine. I'll just. I can juggle. I can read and I can
look on your cell phone.
So, yeah. So
anyway. why were you the first person I thought of when I thought Invasion of the Bee Girls?
I wonder why. We I don't know if the first article that I wrote was the Messiah of Evil interview that I did with Anitra Ford, but we bonded over Messiah of Evil, right? I mean, isn't that how we connected at first?
I think it was Messiah of Evil or Invasion of the Bee Girls, one of the two. We were both going on and on about it.
Yeah, well, they're both so great. So different, different genres, but I think Messiah of Evil was like, oh my God, this guy knows all about them. And come on, I got this issue out because it's my favorite issue, and I think this issue can people still get this, Bill?
Oh yeah, it's always in stock in the.
Okay, issue 9. Okay. Anyway, I got it out because I have a terrible memory. And I was hoping to grab some quotes from Anitra, thinking, oh, well, surely, we talked about Bee Girls, for this interview. Jim mentioned it. There's nothing about Bee Girls in that interview. It's mainly about Messiah. And she mentions, we talk a bit about the big bird cage, but there's nothing about Bee Girls. So, but she does know that we're chatting it up tonight. And we're going to watch the movie and talk about it. And she was happy to know that we were celebrating this movie.
She seems to like the movies that she was in, as opposed to some actors who seem sort of embarrassed about it. But especially Messiah of Evil, she's all in for Messiah of Evil. I'm not sure how she feels about Invasion of the Bee Girls.
I think she's cool with it. I happen to know the one movie that she does not want to discuss. And I don't know if I'll mention it. Maybe if somebody knows, I'm sure people know all the the films that she was in. She wasn't in all that many. She did a lot of TV.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, if somebody mentions it in the chat, and I'll try to follow, I'll cop to it.
What if
But
I
I mean,
mention it?
Yeah, if you mention it, it's fine. But yeah, I don't want to be negative because she's really positive about all of these experiences. I mean, and she did some, interesting stuff, but the most of the B movies that she made, she's more than happy to discuss, and she's proud of them, quite proud of them. So
she's a fantastic presence on screen.
trying to follow.
There's just something about her. My favorite moment for her in Messiah is when she comes out of the bathroom with that hair dryer.
Yeah.
She's never looked more beautiful than she does in that moment right then.
Gorgeous. I think she's funny in it,
Yeah.
the scene with her in the truck, and with Benny.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious to me, and I think it's just really subtly funny. And I think she has a great sense of timing.
Yeah, for something
I
she's
know her
not
more
known
from
for
her
that.
TV stuff. Right. But she's, always a great presence in film or TV. So, but
I can't think of very many things I saw her in theatrically other than The Big Birdcage. And
well, that was the first film that I saw her in.
yeah.
And I love her in The Big Birdcage, and we should watch. Have we watched that?
No, we
yet?
haven't done that.
Okay, we should watch that because a lot of those women in prison, Philippine prison things, they're hard to watch now.
Yeah.
That one is still golden. That has Pam Grier in it as well. But Anitra, she's the co-lead in it, and she holds her own. She's so good in it. She's really brave in that performance, and she's kind of aloof because her character is kind of above all this crazy crap that they throw at her. She's just very brave, and it's sort of like, I'll go through all this stuff, but I'm going to come out on top, in the end. At least that's what I take away from the energy that she gives to that film, because she is no victim, and they put her through some stuff in Big Birdcage. So it's fun to watch.
Mildly. That's an understatement for sure. And yeah, you're right. She always looks great in her movies. I mean, the directors always knew how to present her on screen, and she is a very attractive woman. But it's also like it's not even her appearance though, although that has a lot to do with it, but also like the way she carries herself, the way she speaks. Most of the characters she plays they're intelligent women, and she plays you can tell that's most likely genuine for her,
right? Well, I think more often than not they're underwritten,
mm-hmm.
And it's the choices that she makes, because I know that some of the directors were not totally on the ball with their direction.
I'm sure she could tell some stories.
Graham, she was in The Longest Yard. She was the girlfriend of Burt Reynolds at the beginning of Longest Yard.
Yeah.
And she was cast in that because the casting director saw The Big Birdcage. So that's kind of funny. But she's great in The Longest Yard. She's not in it for very long, but she's the mean girlfriend.
She's the only female character in The Longest Yard, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, okay. She's only in the beginning.
Seen it in a long time. Okay. Well, I watched Invasion of the Beagles again recently, so I would be fresh. I've not watched it in a while, and it holds up. I mean, as far as this kind of sexploitation thing is concerned, sometimes revisiting these movies, especially from the early 70s, the politics get a little dodgy,
Sure, yeah.
and for me, it's hard. Some of it's hard to watch. I mean, I will watch them anyway. I know context and it's fine. But some of them are hard to watch. But watching this again, I'm not going to argue that it is a feminist piece. It's not, but it's fun to watch because the women are on top. they're over the men, and even the sex scenes in this movie, the women have it over, the men, and they're basically killing them, and so it's kind of fun, especially in the context of a 1973 kind of drive-in exploitation thing. It's really fun to watch. There's only one scene in this movie where I was sort of like, that's not right. It doesn't feel like it's organic to the script, and that's stupid to be talking about something like that in a movie like this. But the script is pretty smart, for what it is. And there's only one scene that felt like it was probably, I don't know, a producer, or I don't know a lot about the making of this film, but it felt like a producer came in and was like, we're gonna have to, put a bit more violence in this film. We'll watch the movie and then we can talk about that. But other than that one moment, the sex in it is perfectly fine. The women are empowered and they're going to kill these men who are terrible people. They're all cartoons. It's a cartoon, but it's fun to watch.
There is a pretty vicious attempted rape.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm alluding to, the scene with Victoria Vetri.
Yeah,
which is, it doesn't really make any sense anyway. It feels kind of forced in there. There's no reason for it to be in there. And again, I know this is Invasion of the Beat Girls, but
yeah, it's not meant to be taken very seriously. I think that's one of the funny things about this film. As a matter of fact, ironically, it does have a very superficial way of depicting the females in the cast, but it also has that same way of depicting the men in the cast too. It's really playing with both sides because it depicts men as so vulnerable, and everybody, I think, even if you've just seen the ads for this movie, you already know that it's about women who have sex with men, and the experience kills the man as if they were a worker bee having sex with a queen. So it's depicting this danger that men have fallen into because they can't control their own sex urges. And the rape scene, there is an attempted rape scene in the film. It sort of plays into that as well. And also it's so like over the top, and William Smith comes in and is like this action hero, and a part he plays very well. The action hero.
No, I get what you're saying, and I actually had a conversation with Dan, my husband, about this earlier today. Watching the film play out, even this cartoon, at a certain point, especially in horror movies, where like there's a shark in the water, and the movie ends if nobody goes in the water. A shark is killing people in the water, right? And it's like, just don't go in the water. Well, this is sort of like a pandemic, right? There are all these men who are like out having sex, and they know at a certain point, they know if you have sex, this is happening. You're going to have a heart attack, perhaps. But they go ahead and they do it anyway. They keep having sex. And then like that felt so authentic, especially after the last few years. It's sort of like these guys, are going to go out anyway. Of
Nothing's
course they are. They're going to have
them.
sex because they're not going to feel like they're going to have sex. They're driven to have sex. So that was a component of the film that I think for me, it feels a bit more layered even now, because that seems likely to happen. You couldn't point that out and go, oh, that would never happen. Those guys would just stop having sex anyway.
Or would they? So I do have a few announcements to get out of the way. By the way, I think I mentioned this. Sam is wrestling, so he's going to join us on the second segment. And first of all, I wanted to mention that it's Lynn Griffin's birthday. So
is it?
Yes, one of our favorite.
That's great. Happy birthday, Lynn.
Yeah, from Black Christmas and
Yeah.
Curtains. So many other fantastic films. So happy birthday to Lynn Griffin. She was a Drive-In Asylum cover girl. She's on issue number 13.
Awesome.
Um,
Remember.
Also, there's no show next weekend because next weekend is the Super Drive-In Monsterama. Sam and I will both be at the drive-in watching 8 Christopher Lee movies, 4 on Friday, 4 on
Wow.
Saturday. So
Wow.
no show next weekend. We will return the weekend after that. And
That's awesome. Where is that, Bill?
it's in Vandergrift, PA. It's about a little less than an hour outside of downtown Pittsburgh. So it's, people come from a long ways to go to this show. Traditionally, we have folks from as far away as Toronto who drove there from Toronto. People have flown in from California, El Paso, lots of out-of-state people that we're familiar with there. So it's hopefully something you'll be able to get to at some point, Bradley.
I would love to. One day
Okay.
I would love to do that.
So,
soon.
Hopefully soon. Yeah. And also, sort of a sad thing I wanted to touch on. I'm not sure when he passed away, but we lost Douglas Mckeon this week, the director of The Deadly Spawn. I wore my Deadly Spawn t-shirt in honor of Doug. He really was a fantastic director on this. He did a fantastic job on this film because this movie is beloved. I mean, this movie's a big deal for a lot of people. Not as well known as some of the other monster movies from the 80s, certainly not high profile in the 80s. It's a movie that has picked up a cult reputation as the years go by. And Douglas, I interviewed him for Drive-In Asylum number 12, and he talked a lot about making this movie and how important it was to him. He also co-wrote the script. It wasn't solely his, but Douglas co-wrote this movie. And one of the joyous things from that interview was when he explained to me, he was like, yeah, I wrote all this stuff with the old ladies at the vegetarian luncheon, because those are probably some of my favorite scenes in this movie. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad you loved it.
It's a great film.
Don't you love those vegetarian ladies?
I love a lot of the film. It's very eccentric, and the special effects are really memorable. So
Yeah.
it's sad.
So farewell to Doug. He was also a stage director, an activist, a multifaceted man for sure. He didn't actually edit the Deadly Spawn. For some reason, there was some sort of falling out that he had with the producers of the film, and they fired him.
It's an old story.
Yeah, they fired him on the last day of filming. In fact, I think they still had more stuff to shoot, and he said he showed up on the set one day and they were like, no, we got it from here, Doug, thanks. So he didn't get to actually edit the film, much to his chagrin. He said there was stuff I filmed that I filmed it knowing how I was going to edit it, and they didn't know how I was going to cut that together. So he said there were certain sequences that could have been a lot better than they appear.
It's frustrating.
You do certain things in camera, and as the director, you understand what you're going to do later in the editing room. Was that your experience?
I know. Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine, somebody else coming in and editing my precious footage.
So anyhow, farewell, Douglas Mckeon. Thank you very much for one stunning film, The Deadly Spawn. So Invasion of the Bee Girls is one of my favorites. It's been one of my favorites ever since I saw it. I didn't see it until the 90s. I was kind of late to the party with Invasion of the Bee Girls. I know that they did show it on TV, though, a lot when I was a kid. I would always see it in the TV guide. I don't know why I never wanted to watch it. Maybe I did, and I just don't remember. Is that where you saw it?
I don't remember. But I was very familiar with the film because there was a drive-in theater in Oklahoma City called the Riviera Drive-In, where I saw Messiah of Evil. And they had an eclectic array of programming. They like to appeal to a lot of people. And the usual genre that they would exploit for their entertainment was sexploitation. That was the main genre that I remember. And they would always show 4 movies, and they showed Invasion of the B-Girls several times. It was in heavy rotation, you know. And what's ironic is that they probably showed it even more, because I vaguely remember what was the student. I wrote it down. What was it also called? It was also called
Graveyard
a lot of
Tramps.
Graveyard Tramps. Riviera Drive-In showed Graveyard Tramps as well. So, but in my mind, it was, oh, that's one of those dumb, you know, sexploitation films that, you know, they show at the Riviera Drive-In, until there was a special on sneak previews, Siskel and Ebert. And it was a midnight, a cult show where they were discussing midnight movies, where they discussed Last House on the Left, and of course Rocky Horror Picture Show. And they also talked about Invasion of the B-Girls, which I was not under the impression that it was like a cult movie, that they showed it at midnight, but evidently they did somewhere. And I remember Roger distinctly pointing out Anitra Ford. He was like, "Hey, isn't that Anitra Ford from The Price is Right?" That stuck in my head. And because of that show, I understood what it was. You know, it was sort of a campy thing. So I probably rented it. I don't remember the first time I saw it.
I guess I really don't remember the first time that I saw this, but I know I rented it from Incredibly Strange Video, I think is where I got it. Or maybe I just did a blind buy on it, because how could you not like a movie called Invasion of the B-Girls, you know?
What's funny is that until this recent viewing, I have never seen a copy of it with the actual title. I saw it theatrically maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and even the print that they showed did not have the title. So at the beginning, there's this great theme song. It's really, the score for this movie is really catchy, and it really drives the action, and I love the score. But there was always an edit, because I guess, you know, they sold that movie as, you know, 5 or 6 other things, and they just didn't make any new titles. They just removed the title altogether. Has
Yeah.
anyone else seen a print of the film with Graveyard Tramps, with the title Graveyard Tramps? I've never seen that.
I bet Chris has. Chris Fisanik. Welcome everybody, by the way. It's nice to see a lot of people in chat tonight. We've got almost 30 viewers. So
Awesome.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. And remember to click like, and if you really like us, share. That'll help spread the news about the show. Yeah, I don't know. I knew what Graveyard Tramps was because I used to see pictures of it, and I had some book that had an image of the cover. And, you know, they sort of it looks like a sex movie because there's beautiful models on the poster, one of whom is Apollonia Catero, who did a lot of modeling for MPM.
Oh, was it? I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Drive-In ASYLUM has, yes.
We will show
various.
You
posted various ads of that particular version. It's really Apollonia, for real?
Yeah, one of them is Apollonia.
Okay, because I know who you're talking about. It looks like Apollonia. Is she holding the scythe?
Yes, they always have her
Are you
doing that. Yeah. So we'll start looking at this because this is a pretty extensive ad gallery that I have for this movie.
Awesome. My favorite part.
It debuted in Wisconsin. I don't know why it wasn't made in Wisconsin. And I don't know why you would have a world premiere of Invasion of the Bee Girls in Wisconsin, but there you go. They did. And it played
I
all
love that ad.
I know, it's
Great ad.
fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. This was June 13th, 1973 is when it officially debuted. My ads are kind of jumbled all of a sudden, so I apologize if it sounds like I'm looking all over the place. It looks like June 1973 was the earliest that Invasion of the Bee Girls ever played. So this was a very big drive-in movie. It played at a lot of drive-ins and grindhouses. It seems to have, they didn't have any pretensions about this movie ever being taken seriously. Well, especially with Invasion of the Bee Girls as the name of the movie. But here's a lot of great lineups with it featured, including Invasion of the Blood Farmers.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All the invasion you can
Single
handle
girls.
in one night.
Wow.
This is from Louisville, Kentucky, who had a lot of great advertisements in their newspaper. I did a whole series of them. I'm not sure what The Woman Hunt is. Do you know what that movie is, Bradley?
Never heard
The
of it.
Woman Hunt?
New World Pictures. It's probably a retitle of something, don't you think?
No, I think that's the original title. I mean, I've never seen it, so that one's on
I've
my
never
list.
seen it. I've not heard of it.
Here's a fabulous one with
Okay.
Lady Frankenstein. Oh
All
my
right.
God. Look what was leaving, too. Legend of Boggy Creek and Prehistoric
God.
Women.
As Bill would say, faint.
I know.
No, wait, Prehistoric Women. Wasn't Victoria Beckley in that, or which one? No, When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. I made some notes.
Okay.
Wanted to make sure that I had my stuff together tonight.
There's another drive-in double with Invasion
That
of the Blood
ad
Farmers.
for Invasion of the Blood Farmers. That we had another drive-in in Oklahoma City, and they would play Invasion of the Blood Farmers every few years. And I remember that ad. not the one sheet ad, but that. And I think that was just the ad slick for the newspapers. That's terrifying. That movie was rated PG. It says PG there.
Yeah. They made sure there was a big old butt.
Audience for?
A big old butt right up on screen.
Yep.
And The Velvet Vampire is a wonderful co-feature for this, wouldn't you say?
That's a great movie. What's Stephanie? What's the director's name?
Stephanie Rothman.
Is it Rothman? And it was directed by a woman.
Yeah.
Is it Rothman?
Mm-hmm. This one was interesting because they cut out the little bee girls and put them off to the sides.
I missed that. I missed that kind of detail. And
Legend of Hell House. That's one of those movies that everybody loves, and I watched it and I was kind of like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't you love that movie? I thought I was talking to you about that. You were a big fan.
Is that the one with Roddy McDowell? Is he in that one?
Yeah. Pamela
They all
Franklin.
there are several that run together. I'm not a big fan of that one.
Okay, so here's the retitle, Graveyard Tramps.
Okay. That's from 81.
Yeah, that was the year that they debuted that title was 1981, and
right. Okay.
MPM Motion Picture Marketing was the company that put it out. So here it is with one of their releases that was brand new in theaters, Final Exam. I don't know. It seems to me from that cover for Final Exam, oh, I flipped right through it. It seems to me from that title, they're trying to make you think of another movie that also had a tagline like...
Yeah, absolutely. I remember people asking me, because I was the horror kid, is this a sequel to Halloween?
Did you tell them yes just to make them go to it?
No, I would have arguments with people who didn't know anything,
Yeah.
They knew Boogeyman was the sequel to Halloween as well.
Oh yeah, that was a little. I can remember people asking me things like that too. Now that you mention it, I was sort of like the
Yeah, I was
go-to
the horror
guy.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
you
believe
asked
that
about
too.
that kind of stuff there.
Right. Like I will know. I can tell you.
Oh, these are
Won't
a little
lie.
mixed up. Here's another one from the 70s with the big
There's
old
that ad.
Mhm.
That
That ad and that as. This kind
but
of
before video was prevalent, they would just re-release these films over and over again, Invasion of the Bee Girls in '81.
yeah,
That's wild to think about that.
it is such a 70s movie.
Why would Blood Farmers be in because of the invasion component of the title? I don't
Probably the
see them
same
as
distributor put them out. That's all. Oh, jumping back to 1981, here is and we'll put this one full screen so that we can see it a little better.
please.
Here's a whole bunch of drive-ins were showing Graveyard Tramps. Our little movie, Invasion of the Bee Girls, there
Wow.
it was, right next to
Wow.
Chainsaw Massacre, lest you be confused and think that only Texas can have a Chainsaw Massacre. Now they've just chopped off the first word. I'm pretty sure it had to have been TCM. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it showed with Final Exam, didn't it? I mean, weren't they like co-hits together in some markets?
I'm not sure.
Which is weird because
I know.
they're tonally just completely different.
This one was too good not to use with this lady. She just looks like she was cut out of a beach movie ad or something and tacked on to the side.
Oh my gosh. Now, what year is that?
This was 73.
Okay. All right.
Rated
81
R.
would have been a stretch with that chick on the ad. But
She's definitely not a B girl.
no.
I mean, she looks like a nice lady and everything. Oh, I brought this up so that we could see that the co-feature was The Sting of Death.
Oh my gosh. I love the Sting of Death. Wow.
But
That
it's
would have been worth it to stay up till midnight to watch the Sting of Death.
definitely, and it's an ironic thing to put on the same bill with Invasion of the Bee Girls, right?
Yes. But I'm
Sting.
sure they weren't thinking along those lines. But
Ba-dum-bum.
yes.
Okay, that's enough of that. And here is some more 1981 ads. This one's a little complicated. Let's get rid of this background and we can see these ads a lot better. I'm going to fire the producer of this show. I swear to God. This is from 1981. And look, our second feature of the night is on the same bill with all of these movies. Isn't that great? Right down there at the bottom is Vampires, Daughters of Dracula.
Huh. Interesting.
And I can never remember what these other retitled MPM movies are. Vampire Playgirls is The Devil's Nightmare. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Here I am typing frantically. One of them was Vampire's Night Orgy. And see, they used to mix up the titles of all these. You didn't even know. Okay. No, I was wrong. In the Devil's Garden is Satan's Playthings. So, Vampire Playgirls, I believe. Of course, it only gives me the Playgirls and the Vampire.
Still, it's all very confusing.
Yeah, Vampire Playgirls is The Devil's Nightmare. So I was right the first time with that one and didn't even know it. So this was pretty interesting. I had to get this on there because it had our second feature of the night in the same. It's very economical. This is pretty interesting. I wouldn't be able to even talk about this ad at all if I hadn't been in touch recently with Bob Murawski of Grindhouse Releasing. And he actually put this program together. This was from Detroit, 1986. And this is very illuminating about the marketing world when it comes to these retitled movies. Like you mentioned earlier, Bradley, how you went to see B-Girls and it had another title cut into it. That happened constantly. And on a local level, because this was just in Detroit that this show happened and in the surrounding areas. This was an ad campaign that Bob designed. And these 3 titles were not even attached to a specific movie. Like sometimes She Devils in Leather. He said that they would ship out these programs to drive-ins around Detroit. You see them listed on the bottom there. He said you could go to one and see 3 movies and go to another one and the same titles would be 3 completely different movies, which is hilarious and wonderful if you ask me. She Devils in Leather, you might have been seeing Switchblade Sisters,
Okay.
or which it had already been retitled Playgirl Gang by MPM. So that was typically Switchblade Sisters. Teenage Cemetery Tramps was Vampire Hookers. It had already been retitled Cemetery Girls. So, and House of Chains was Room of Chains retitled. So since they got so many bookings, he said they got 15 drive-in bookings the first weekend for this, and they didn't. That was more movies than they could. That was more screens than they could have shown. So they started substituting other movies and cutting in the title: She Devils in Leather, House of Chains, Cemetery Tramps. Oh, look! I never even noticed this. They X'd out teenage in the ad here. It just says XXX Cemetery Tramps. That should have said teenage, but I guess that was going too far. So he said that She Devils in Leather could also have been Sweet Sugar, which is pretty amazing. And there was one print of Savage Streets that they also turned into She Devils in Leather. So could you imagine
Okay.
going to see? You would go to see Linda Blair on the drive-in screen and not even know it. So Graveyard Tramps, which he says was formerly Invasion of the Bee Girls. It was also, wait, I lost my place. There were other movies. They also swapped out Vampire's Night Orgy and Demon Rage. All 3 of those movies, including Invasion of the Bee Girls, could have been Teenage Cemetery Tramps on any of these programs. So you could have been seeing Invasion of the Bee Girls once again in 1986 on a drive-in screen. And House of Chains was Room of Chains, but he said they also had 2 prints of Sex and Violence, a movie called Sex and Violence, aka Andrea, sort of a Euro Last House on the Left set on a boat. So that was also House of Chains in a couple of venues. So this barbed wire doll ad campaign was very different depending on what drive-in you saw it in this particular area.
Right. Well, the thing about B-Girls is that they just removed the title altogether, So I think that's probably what they did to most of these films. They just did not have the title,
Yeah, they
It'd be
just cut
easier
it
to
out.
switch it out.
Yeah, because you had to send out and pay to have those cut-in titles made.
Right.
So it was kind of costly occasionally to retitle your movie. If you wanted to be legit and actually put the title on screen, you had to pay somebody to come up with one of those, how many frames would that even be?
Right.
To put
That
on
would
the
be
screen.
crazy expensive to do that back then. So.
Yeah. So that's our ad campaigns for Invasion of the Bee Girls.
Very cool. Very enlightening.
So Sam's not going to be on the first segment, but he kind of is, because I've got this video of our cocktail for the first film. So
cool.
Here he is. Welcome to the show, Sam Panico in a can. So take it away, Sam.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. Can't wait to come back after my match. I'm going to make the Invasion of the Bee's Knees. The Bee's Knees is a Prohibition era cocktail, and at that time it meant the best. It was a slang term. Hopefully this drink comes out close to the best. Anyway, it's real simple. You're going to take a shaker, and you're going to start with 2 ounces of gin. And then you're going to ounce an ounce of egg whites. This is where it gets a little weird. Some people may be a little put off by that. It just adds a certain body to it and a nice top to your drink. I'm going to do 0.75 ounces of lemon juice. That kind of sweetens up the gin a bit. It makes it a little bit easier to drink. And then finally, I did a recipe earlier this week on the site that I posted about doing honey syrup. It's real easy, just hot water and honey. And this is going to be also 0.75 ounces. Put that all in a shaker and shake it up for as long as you feel comfortable. And then you're going to pour it into a glass about this size. You can see the egg white in there, kind of giving it a little bit of the body and a little bit of the head. And finally, to add the last bit, I guess a bit of honey, you're just going to do a little squeeze of honey at the top. Have it go in. And there you go, you're set. Enjoy the movie, guys. I'll see you for the second one. Pazuzu.
And I cut him off totally. Anyway, Pazuzu to you too, Sam, and to you, Bradley. Do you have a cocktail you're drinking?
Hey, I missed that entire thing. I didn't see any of it. What did you, Pazuzu? That sounds delicious.
No, that's our instead of saying cheers, we say Pazuzu.
Oh, okay. I've got some coffee.
I don't even know how that started, so so you can say whatever you want.
Pazuzu.
Another delicious cocktail from San Panico. So Invasion of the Bee Girls.
Was there a theme?
Oh, it was called the Bee's Knees.
Oh, okay. Cute.
Sorry, I think there's a little delay in our camera. So if I've been talking over you, I apologize. It's not intentional.
No, I didn't get that. I for some reason I wasn't able to see Sam's segment. But you guys, I mean, you go the extra mile. I mean, you were prepared. I mean, you and Sam, I love how dedicated you are to this.
Sometimes we're prepared.
He's wrestling tonight, and then he's going to come back and finish the show. Are you guys?
Oh, of course he is.
I feel so lazy comparatively. You know, that's a Saturday night. I mean,
yeah, I'm kind of crazy, but Sam's absolutely insane when it comes to working. I have about 7 projects going right now, and that's even more than I usually have. Sam, he needs several day planners and a huge file of facts to keep track of everything that he's got going on. So nothing stops him.
That's great.
He used to be in a death metal band called Cant, C-A-N-T. I'm not sure how to pronounce. I was calling it Cant, and I think eventually I realized I was mispronouncing it all this time. Now Cant has not been active for some time. I'm hoping though that one day they'll return to the stage.
So, have you ever seen Sam wrestle?
I have.
I'd love to see some footage of him wrestling. I'm fascinated by that. I thought he was kidding when he.
Oh no, he's not kidding. Yeah, he's very well known in the wrestling circle as it is, and you know, he's been doing it for decades now. So I didn't realize that he had such a
No idea.
He had so much recognition.
well, he has a very interesting mind. He's got his hands in a lot of, an eclectic variety of things. So
He's got his fingers in pies. Yeah, that's for sure.
uh-huh.
You never know what he's going to talk about on his site. He'll talk about Jess Franco and Bruno Mattei, and he'll really get into detail. And then you'll see a review on his site for like something from the Hallmark Channel. Like, wow, there's room even for this in his life too. Yeah, there is.
We've bonded over a couple of really weird, obscure, micro budget filmmakers that make some very strange movies. So it's always a great conversation to have with Sam about that extra weird stuff that a lot of people are just not gonna, connect with. So,
speaking of micro budget horror films, what's going on with 13 Tracks to Frighten Agatha Black?
well, thank you for asking. We got distribution. We have distribution on it, and I can't really say the name of the company because when you sign the contract, that's part of the. You're not supposed to release that information because it's newsworthy, and if you're, a micro budget film, anything that's newsworthy, you really have to save until
Sure.
you can point an audience to somewhere that it's showing. So we'll be streaming on major platforms or minor platforms soon, and they want to put out a Blu-ray of it. So, and soon I'll be able to announce the name of the company, but they have to know where it's going, and so another several months of sitting around and waiting. But thank you for asking. I'm very excited about it still. It's just, when you have no money, you're just, it's a waiting game for me. So I started working on projects, so I've been able to focus on something else because I'm not like you and Sam. I don't juggle, a lot of projects well. It's like I'm hyper focused on the one thing to get it done. So now I can focus on the next project. So, but I'll let you know when you can watch it if it's, wherever. I'm hoping maybe it'll be on Tubi. I'm crazy about Tubi, even with the commercials, and just for our audience tonight, only seek out B-Girls on Tubi unless you have it on Blu-ray, because that print's really great. I don't know where they sourced it from, but it's the best print I've seen. So
yeah, I'll drop the link into chat to watch it on Tubi because I didn't make a post about it on the Facebook page yet.
There's a print on Prime and it's terrible. So don't
Oh
go
yeah,
Prime.
Prime sucks. Every print they have on there is terrible. It's worse than a VHS print. It's like a 35 millimeter VHS rip that was buried under a dumpster outside of a Food Lion.
Yeah, Lee. I love. Yeah, I'm completely addicted to Tubi, and I watched that Al Adamson documentary that Severin came out with when they released the special edition, $100, Al Adamson set, and it was so good. So if you get a chance and you were not able to purchase the Severin Al Adamson set, the documentary that David Gregory put together, it's so good. And if you like drive-in movies and Al Adamson, it's worth a watch.
Going back to what you said about making a movie, making one movie is not one project, even though you have one end result. There's a lot involved in making the movies, and you're doing a lot of it. You did a lot of it on your last one, writing the script, working with the actors, directing the film, the special effects. You have to be in charge of all of that stuff. Even if you're finding somebody else to do it, you have to negotiate that and bring it together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right. No, you're right. You're right. But I'm just saying, I've been working on this one film for quite a while,
Hmm.
and yeah, I did do a lot of that stuff, but yeah, moving on is nice, focusing on a different story. So that will be fun.
Unfortunately, yeah, wasn't he buried under a hot tub is where they found his body? I'm pretty sure.
His story is sad to tell.
I
That's a
know.
bad ending. Yeah. And it was really nice to hear the background on, his story, because it sounds like he was a nice guy. He made some really bad movies, and his wife, um, she sounds like a nice lady. She's, not a great actress. I guess his version of Sherry Moon. But such an interesting life. And I enjoy watching his movies. One of my favorite drive-in movies of all time is Nurse Sherry. That's a great one.
I
I
always
could
forget
watch
he
that.
did that. That seems like
He,
that really does not seem like an Al Adamson film to me.
it is. It is right. It's very different. And I love that movie so much. I don't know why. And I've written about it a lot, and I still don't really know what it's about. I
No
don't
one
think he
does.
did either.
Not even he did. There were so many different cuts of the
Yeah.
film that had different sort of
Yeah.
interpretations. So,
Right.
it's a series of scenes. You make up your mind.
Right. But it's a fun watch. And I don't think I've ever sat through the entire version of Dracula versus Frankenstein. Never watched it. But to circle back, Dracula versus Frankenstein, there's a connection to our movie tonight. Where is it?
Invasion of the Bee Girls?
Yeah, there's somebody involved. Oh, Gary Graver, the cinematographer, who did a million things. He also shot. He worked for Al Adamson as well. He shot Dracula versus Frankenstein and Blood Mania and Death Sport and Mortuary, but 100 of movies, it looks like, on IMDb. He's semi-famous. Gary Graver, no. I
Yeah.
wish Sam were here
We
right
talked
now
about him
because,
when we did Blood Mania on this
oh,
show.
okay. Because he also shot Chattanooga Choo Choo, which is weird 1984 Barbara Eden movie. Another one of those things where it's like, who is this audience for? And I think it was made as a reaction to the Harper Valley PTA, which was also a Barbara Eden movie and also based on a song. Has anybody seen Chattanooga Choo Choo from 1984? It's another kind of bad movie, but it played, hard tops. And I guess it was supposed to be a kids-friendly movie in summer of '84. Man, it's bad. Barbara Eden, they try to make a movie about the song, or kind of, and the song's not really, anyway, terrible. But there's a great TV cast. George Kennedy's in it. All these, I'll do anything for money people. Melissa Sue Anderson is in it. It's terrible. Anyway, I'd
I
highly
did like
recommend
Harper
it if
Valley
you like
PTA.
bad movies. So I
I
know.
did like Harper Valley PTA.
Well, that's a real movie, and I like that. And the series I watched the series as well. This is a different thing. So Joe Namath is in it. Yeah.
Wait, Barbara Eden wasn't in the series Harper Valley PTA, was she?
No, but I watched that as well.
Yeah, there was another somebody mentioned it in the chat. And there was another actress who played that role, and I can't remember who it was.
But it was based on the film.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It was based on the film, and it was, fine. But anyway,
Maybe she
Chattanooga
was in the
52.
TV show, because Vince says that was Barbara Eden.
Was
So
it Barbara Eden? Okay.
I could
It's
have my
been a
wires
while.
crossed. I'm thinking of a movie that was made into a TV series where the lead actress changed. Not Alice, because that's the obvious one. It was another one.
9 to 5 didn't get any of the regulars back. I remember
Oh, there
9
you
to 5.
go.
I watched that a
Yeah.
bit.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a syndicated version that was even once removed with different people in that, or I don't know, Dolly Parton's cousin was in it. It was weird. Got weird.
Cynical Mike Justice. Yeah, she had left TV behind. She was only working theatrically. Thank you.
Okay, I did watch that show. I did watch the TV show, but it was only on for a season, I think. But
Yeah, all of my favorite shows got canceled like that. I remember. Do you remember the Jeffersons spinoff, Checking In?
I do not.
See, it was
No.
Florence from the Jeffersons. She had her own show for half a second, and it was called
Okay,
Checking
that would
In.
make
She
sense.
inherited a hotel, and she went to be the proprietor of this spooky, haunted motel. It was called Checking In.
I would have liked that. I remember Flo. Flo got her own show that
I
only
like
lasted
that too.
a few episodes. And what else? Oh, on Tubi, I discovered that there was a Sanford and Son spinoff called Grady, and there's
Yeah,
like 8 episodes that I've saved because I liked that character. So I'll be watching some Grady over the next couple of weeks.
yeah, I
Paper
remember
Moon
Grady.
was. I remember
Paper Moon.
Moon.
I've never seen that
Yeah,
one, and it pisses me
I've
off
never seen it.
because yeah, you can't see it anywhere because I guess there's some
I
sort of
love the
rights
movie.
issues. Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies, Paper Moon.
Yeah, I've never seen Grady. I'll have to catch Grady. And Sanford Arms, which is sort of a weird spin-off of Sanford and Son. No.
Let us know if it's the first time you're going to be watching Invasion of the Bee Girls, and if so, we're so honored that you're watching it with us. Although I suspect most people in the chat have seen it. Even Mike Justice has seen it. He who always says, I've never seen blank, says he's seen Invasion of the Bee Girls about 10 to 20 times, although rumor has it that he has never seen our second feature tonight, Vampires. So at least there's that. Oh, and by the way, Lee, I owe you an explanation. I promised on Facebook I would explain this. Jeff Jordan used to watch Invasion of the Bee Girls with me, and he was the one who first posited this idea. He said, what if she turned that? I guess you're going to have to have seen the film to truly understand it, but it involves a laser ray that turns females into a queen bee sort of being who, after they have sex with men, they die. And he said, what if they turned it on a man? What if what if they went through this ritual of turning a woman into a bee girl? What if they did that to a guy? Then what would happen? So unfortunately, Invasion of the Drones was a sequel that they never filmed.
Well, I'm glad of that.
I'm not, because I want to see it.
Just circling back around to the movie. One of my favorite aspects of this film is the soundtrack, and it has a great title. It has great theme song, and the soundtrack. What's his name? I wrote it down.
Charles Bernstein.
Charles Bernstein, famous guy, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Pigs.
And Pigs, which yes, that's another big drive-in ASYLUM thing. It's really fun, and the movie isn't the same without that great music. It helps drive the narrative. I mean, it's involved. You can tell that he was watching this film as he's scoring it. There isn't there's a major difference when the film is actually helped drive the narrative, as opposed to somebody just sort of doing a needle drop or some passive sort of softcore European vampire film with light music in the background. Anyway, it's crackerjack. So if it's your first time watching the movie, just you can't not hear the soundtrack. But that's one of my favorite aspects of it. So
he had that same twangy sound in that song he wrote for Pigs. Somebody's waiting for you somewhere down the road. It went wow 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 wow.
Mike, I don't know one on Executioner. I will write that down, because if it's anything like the B-Girl stuff, I learned so much from the talkbacks.
I always do too. Thanks to everybody who hangs out and chats.
Yeah.
We all can keep the memory of these movies alive and learn more about them. So thanks to everyone who comes and joins this little community. Are you ready to get to the first film, Bradley?
Yeah, let's watch it. I'm excited.
I'll drop the link into chat one last time. And this is on Tubi. So there's going to be commercials. So we'll wait a little bit before we come back on for the second segment. And also Sam Panico will be here. And there'll be 3 talking heads instead of just 2. And you can't wait for that. So come back and join us on the second segment. And we'll have lots to talk about. We'll talk about the more spoilery stuff for Invasion of the B-Girls when we come back. So I hope to see you there.